2 weeks ago, we were talking about the address only um, ones that come in and what to do with them. And somebody suggested, there's two parts to this. Somebody talked about wax seals on them. And I was trying to find that information. I did post in the Mastermind group, but I really didn't get any responses. But just, what equipment they were using, what they were doing. I thought that was a great idea. So one of the person actually did respond about using color envelopes, which I thought that was good too. The other part I wanted to ask you about is I wanted to buy a new printer, and I've been racking my head for 2 weeks since trying to figure out laser, whether to go laser or a better inkjet printer. Several people have recommended a particular HP inkjet, but I'm not sure about laser, and I'm just wondering if anybody out there has any knowledge on those types of printers, because when you look at the websites, every manufacturer just makes way too many models, different series, and it just, the redundancy just seems incredible. So just wondering.
It depends on which primary usage is. I've got I love Brothers because they're just really good. I've got the multifunction color flatbed scanner. I make sure you get the legal size scanning bed that it goes on. I don't print a lot of color stuff. If I do, I'd rather just order it. So because the output is so heavy duty on the Brothers, you can get a medium sized office one, probably about $500. They run forever. They don't break down. The ink replacement is cheaper because the problem you get with the inkjets is if they start clogging up, everything starts streaking. You spend more time unclogging it, even though they'll run their little auto maintenance thing than what it does. And I say laser never lets you down.
Because what I found, I have a 20-page, well, probably not even that, but just whatever, RPR report along with another report I want to print out and send, like a 20-page report, and to bring it to like an Office Depot or Staples, it's costing anywhere from looks like $10 to $20 to print one of these out, a lot more than I thought. After you do 50 of these, or 100, you probably pay for one of these printers. So that's, but it's sounding that LaserJet is the better way to go.
Yeah, the laser is, and the thing is with that, usually they come about 25 page or 50 up to 50 page dock feeder. Black and white, unless you're really trying to go high end and have something all fancy in color. Because the cool part is, if you do the RPR or anything else, you can print using, if you don't have Adobe Acrobat, use Microsoft Print to PDF. So you could do a RPR report, do Microsoft Print to PDF. It'll create a PDF document, and that'll let you send it in color to your clients. But if you're okay with the color, not having the color, and you want to hang it on a door, go ahead and do the inkjet, because I run 5,000 plus. I get the high-end toner cartridges that say 5,000, but because I'm not printing all these pages or whatever with all these pictures, I probably get about 7,000 pages per cartridge. And at $99 or $100, that's what you do. And the strong recommendation is don't go buy the refill stuff. Buy the original printer cartridges for refills. That saves paper jams and problems too.
Yeah.
Yes. I use a Canon. I've got a Canon laser multifunction. The only caveat I have on that is I use the top feeder for scanning. Make sure you get one that double sides so you can do both sides when you scan. Yeah. And then I love my Canon.
All right. Enough about printers.
Marcus, though, if you could find that information about the wax,
it's already been, you've been already tagged in it, and there's been people throwing the link in there for you in the chat feature.
All right, I now return you to your regular scheduled programming.
I just ordered my wax yesterday, so I can let you know in a few days how it works.
Wax on, wax off.
Yeah.
Just type in wax in the, okay, let me guys give you a quick hack on this group. So this group is super easy to use. You just literally use the search feature, and for any buzz or keyword that you're looking for, video, bomb, you name it, right? And then we also have the topics in the groups. So I kind of this sometimes is for you guys to get back to the fundamentals. It's like you need to be able to find resources fast, right? For what you're looking for. And a lot of that is what we try to do hashtags to kind of pin those topics in there for you. So that'd be a good address only hashtag for anybody who's tagging that post. But that, or just search for almost anything. I get a lot of people who ask me every day, is bomb the only solution? I'm like, no, there's a lot of different ones, right? And you guys are all using them. It's just the solution that I use. and the solution that I find quite easy. But if you find that something else is working, let us know. Okay, wins. Who has some wins? I know Deborah had a fun win using RPR reports. Did you? If you're here, Deborah, do you want to share it somewhere?
Sure. I'd be the first one to admit that I had, it wasn't happening for me. I think I started last May, and I spent a lot of money on ads and stuff. So I understand what it feels like to not be a success. But in one of the two, I think it was one of the two programs that that are being sold, there was something, I think it was Jennifer that said, just stick with it, keep trying things. And, I just really had to change my mindset to make this work. I'm not a kind of a quitter. So I took a look at what I was doing, and it really just wasn't enough. And, I have BombBomb, I have HomeBot, yeah, you can have them, but if you don't use them to the next level, I didn't think you were going to get a payback. And so I decided to do that. And I think I still have 3 ads running, not cheap. But like I said, I wasn't going to give up. All those people that came in that sent an email, I decided to split the list. Everybody who sent an email, I did the RPR report. I did, and I can't remember if it was Jennifer or Wendy who put the letter out about what they're sending. And then I sent a video on top of that. Now, I got a lot of requests for people to send me a copy of the video. I can't do it. I can't even make a cake because I can't follow a recipe. I'm just one of those people that so memorizing a script just wasn't going to happen. So I just got on there and just in my regular voice, like I'm talking now, kind of explained what it was that I was sending him. It wasn't any big deal. And anywhere from a minute to 2 minutes, some properties I was really familiar with. I actually got a couple of requests from people I knew, and just sort of tried to have fun with it. And then the key was for me is I never played it back. I just hit send. And by doing that, I just take my, I could sit there and re-record for the next 2 hours to get it perfect. And it just never was going to be perfect. So I sent it. Somebody that I had was one of the long time ones called me up or actually emailed and said, come over. And, I did. And as it turns out, he's probably a long time, somebody you're going to have to work with, but he was a really nice man. He's in his 80s and keeps falling down, and his house has stairs. So he is a seller. Another one right around the corner, she's another one in her 80s. They're going to need to sell. They can't take care of their houses. I'm seeing another lady Thursday. And these just all came from, just kind of, I don't know if you call it just, just trying to give that extra effort. I called one that actually left me her email. And when I got into the conversation, here she is 60 years old on a half acre up in Fallbrook, 4-bedroom, 2-bath house. I asked her all the questions. She doesn't want to be there, when you dug down. And so, in the last week, I've added 4 people that are probably going to be, they're not instant, come list me, but they're probably at some point going to be a great client. So the other thing on the RPR report, I struggled with, printing 20 pages. You don't need to. They can't understand it anyway. So if you look at the little dots, you can unclick those dots. And it took me a long time to figure out what would be the best thing to say, to send that would give a homeowner an idea that we worked really hard, but in the end, you don't need to send 20 pages. You're just going to blow them out of the water. And if you get there, you know, the one that I went and met on Saturday, I had given him a value of somewhere in the 6s. As it turns out, once I, you know, went through his house, it was more like somewhere in the mid 7s. So,
Can
you know, it was a good, what's that?
Can you share which pages on the RPR did you use? The file specifically, because yeah, I go through this report as well, and
it's, you know, and even when you click on the ones, what I ultimately did when I figured out what I wanted to sell, and I think I can do it by sharing my screen, is I actually called RPR and said, this is what I sell. What, and RPR is going to change in real soon, so I don't know how this will affect what I've already got set up. But I send them, let's see if I can pull this up. So let's see, that's page 1. And San Diego is very strict about taking pictures off the internet, or actually California. I've been warned twice, it's a huge fine. So you can't just go to the MLS and, you know, take a picture and put it on something, because it's a big fine. Okay, so this one is, I'm sending the seller's report, and then it gives a current estimate and comp value, their home facts, and so it gives them an, you know, they can see if it's wrong. Where I live, the square footage is most of the time wrong, because people are always adding on. There you go, seller's report, comps map, and this is the last page. So I just send them enough comps so they can see that I actually did my work.
Love it.
And that's it, nothing else.
I like that. I really do. Let me ask you a question. Do you ask some questions before you send this out, or do you send this out and then what I'm seeing and I'm envisioning would work the best would be to send this and then follow up to get them to ask questions after you sent this? I think that would be probably the best way to go.
Okay, on this particular one, I actually spoke with her a half hour. She was actually a really cool lady, and she told me the house needed some work and needed about $10,000. And, you know, the company I work for actually has a program where they can do all that work. And, you know, the money comes out of escrow. And so I was able to include that too in the cover letter that, you know, goes out with the email. So this goes as an attachment, and then the video just goes right over it, you know, in that little square. So it's pretty.
You send it to address only as well. Would you send it?
You can't. What I have done in the past is I've got an envelope, you know, the big envelopes. It's really not that expensive to send the envelope. You know, considering it, I think it was $1.61 in postage, and I sent them the cover letter. I sent them the RPR report, about 5 pages. I sent them a notepad. And so far, nobody, as far as I know, you know, they haven't contacted me. But I've done. I think it was Jennifer that said that this is her lead generation, and so, you know, people are spending $5,000 a month on Zillow ads. I can spend $10 on or you know, even $20 on trying to generate my own, you know, my own leads. So that's just what and it's taken me a long time. Believe me, I'm really hard-headed, and I go into perfectionism, and, you know, then nothing gets done. So, but in the last week, this seems to worked a little bit.
Awesome. That's awesome. Thanks for sharing. And, you know, for everybody using RPR, I like that mini report. And I have found, you know, and give us some feedback if you're doing something differently. I have found by giving a little bit, especially something like this, something small, and then following up and asking questions directly about that report, that seems to be the best way to get feedback, because you're giving them what they asked for. And then you follow up and you follow up and you follow up. That's the key, is you just follow up, ask questions directly. Who's who's having similar experiences or maybe using different ways.
Well, I was,
Go ahead.
well, I mean, like, I was just like, just saying that, like sometimes like instead of like giving them the actual report because you really don't know what they have. Like, I mean, of course, when they say like, they need some work in the property, I mean, like one of my strategies is like, hey, I can't really give you an exact number. I need to like really actually see your house. And that's what really gets me into the door. They really want to know what the exact number is. And for you to do that, because of course, if you go to Zillow or any other like websites, they're not going to give you the exact number. It's going to give you like something, a little bit lower and all. So one of my strategies is like, if I can, because what I've realized a lot of people is like, if you give them the actual number in an email, or if you email it to them, they might not call you back. But if you actually like, try to meet them in person and you tell them exactly what you can do for them, I think it's more of a percentage for you to get them instead of just send them that email or something. But I mean, this is my first time doing this, so I really don't know what's really working here.
Yeah, I've sent, so our system here in Ontario, we have a thing called Matrix, and it basically you go in and you take a look at all the comparables. You kind of pull out 3 of them, right, of the most recent sales, and it just generates a report like that right away. The system does it itself. So I've been doing that, sending it to them, and when they see the prices, they're kind of shocked because over here the prices just skyrocketed in the past month and a half. So they're kind of shocked, like, wow, I can actually get this much. And they'll email me back. I've gotten good responses from that, just from them being so shocked. And in the email, I obviously, I'll send them the ones that were in a higher range, and I'll tell them like, listen, I haven't seen the interior. I don't know exactly what your property looks like. This is just based on the exterior and any information you've given me. Other than that, we'd have to take a look at it together, and I can give you an exact amount, right? So it worked out. I mean, I don't know. I feel like that report actually works because you give them something. You come from contribution, right? So you're giving them something rather than just, hey, come meet me, see me, right?
Yeah, and and that's exactly, and just to expand what you said on Marcus, you've said the word a couple times, is you want to give them something of value. That's what they're expecting. And I participate in several other mastermind groups, and that's a very common thread that comes up, is that you really want to, that's how you want to get in, is by giving them something of value. So I think it's very important to send them a report, send them something, just a little something different. This was a first yesterday. I did get a new one. This I actually got a response. He emailed to me. This was the response. Wow, this response was a bit scary and too fast. That was new. Haven't had one like that before. In fact, I even responded to the guy that you asked for something and I delivered it.
So you sent the report and he came back saying it was?
No. I'm assuming this was before I sent the report. I'm assuming that when he made his, when he clicked submit, some kind of automated message went out to him.
Yeah.
Maybe from the system, Marcus.
Yes. Okay. So that if you can address that immediately, there's a little time delay on every automation that sends out, and so it is from default from the trial into your full account will send immediately the first email, but it's just as easy to go in there and default that 3, 5, 10 minutes, right? And or more. So ultimately the automations part of StreetText, I think it's so customizable, and that's really where it gets fun. If you look at Jennifer Salter, she's created an automation, if anybody's taken her course, where it's no longer the default that you see from the trial angle. It's really more about lead comes in, email goes out, whatever delay that you want, and then immediately a text, or a couple minutes later, a text goes out. So what I would start imagining and envisioning was people would start doing their text messages to reflect a couple minute delay after the email, and then point back to the email itself where you want them to see it, especially if you're incorporating video in there, right? Because really the automation, especially the text message piece, is only there to start the conversation. You actually don't need it to go out any longer than that. So if you change the thought of it being 5 text messages throughout the first week, and rather maybe turn them all off and decide to add actions after each email, because it's done sequentially, add the action, add the text message, whatever you want it to say. So whatever email that you have going out ongoing, it's always going to point back to the email. In that case, it designs you to be more frequent with your emails, and, or, you know, especially as you start customizing them. So that's just something to consider, because a lot of people just leave it as default, and no one said leave it as default. It's just been there for years. It's really going to be, I think, for those that kind of go in there and turn off everything sometimes and kind of reimagine the experience, almost reverse engineer it for the first week or two, that's where you can go in there and have fun. You know, don't always think so much about lead generation, especially if the hard part for you is getting those people to talk to you. If that's the big thing, then make that the priority. Lead generation will never be the issue, especially if you're working with that split test. That'll come in fast. The key for everybody here will always be on how do I get these people to immediately get a real experience of myself, that I'm coming from contribution, and then I'm asking the right questions to get the conversation started. And so, you know, Troy, you can allude to that a little bit too, because I know we were talking about branding you, and a big part of that is do not let that experience as that lead submits their information be anything other than reinforcing that this is a personal connection. If they don't know it, and all you have is an address and email that are going out, like let's say that person comes in and says, what's your home really worth? Enter your address, receive a home value. Address is submitted, email is submitted, no more, that's it. No much, they don't have anything else to go off of. That is the only experience they have of you in that moment, going back to their inbox. So if you're not reinforcing that connection, and you're not reinforcing it in your email signature with a picture of you, it shouldn't be your brand of your business. It should be your picture. It should be you. You're the connection. It's a relationship focused, contribution focused thing. They're gonna need to talk to somebody. So it's not they're talking to your brand, they're talking to you, your picture, your video, right? Everything has to be about customizing that experience to make sure they know it's an authentic connection and that you're coming from contribution. You're gonna use words like I'm a small business owner, complimentary, no obligation, you know, my way of giving back, free, you know, I'm gonna update this report as often as you'd like, even monthly if you'd like, right? All those type of things. So make them feel like they initially are going to get that experience from you.
And you cannot be a one and done. You can't just, I said this before, you can't let the automation do it all and think it's handled. That's why when some people aren't getting responses going, I did all the automation. Okay, but what did you do besides the automation? If you're not reaching out, if you see any kind of activity, that's what I love about BombBomb and all that. When I get notification they did something, I'm going to reach out, even just to send a quick text, you know, be like, hey, Nikki, I see you were looking at stuff online. Let me know if you have any questions. We'd be glad to help you. They want to know it's a real person, because some of my stuff I get sometimes, is this a real person? And I go laugh out loud. Sadly, yes. If I could clone myself, I'd probably get more done. But step out and make humor. But you got to have a personal touch.
I see Joe put in here, he had some wins and learnings to share. So I was going to ask Joe if you'd like to share.
Oh, I certainly will. And two of those are going to be sort of an embarrassment to myself. I'm going to say anyway.
Your audio's a little off, Joe. I don't know if it's just me, but maybe sit a little closer to your mic.
Is that better?
That's better.
No. Connection here. You know, I just wanted to share, I'm still, all I can say with StreetText is there's certainly been no shortage of leads coming from the system at all, period, end of story. I'm extremely happy with that. And I'm working right now with some folks who, are looking to put their homes on the market, buy one, sell another, those kinds of things. I don't have any listings or actual clients from them yet. One I actually turned down because we had a difference on sales price, and I'm not going to waste my time with somebody who is unrealistic. So I'm just not going to do it. What I do want to say and throw in here was that I went through some old leads that I had. My automations stopped, but there were some times where I was reaching out to them with a BombBomb video. I sent them an RPR report in the mail. They got it. But what happened in these two instances was they were different homes. One said, hey, Joe, appreciate all the stuff you're doing, all the information you sent. We're going to be putting off selling our home probably mid-2021. So, and the other was, first part of this year, they were going to put their home on the market. So unfortunately, what I did was I kind of took a step back from reaching out to them on a regular basis, and I put them a few months out because I didn't want to be a pain in the butt, whatever. Come to find out, you know, both of them listed, one listed in October of last year, one of them listed in December of last year. Clearly, I didn't get the listings. I didn't even have a chance to go and, you know, present. But I communicated with them. I sent bomb videos. There were items of value. I just dropped the ball a little bit. One was a $1.5 million listing that sold in 30 days, and the other was about $600,000. So I guess what I'm saying is, in my head, my default is to follow up for a little bit. When someone says, hey, you know, I'm not doing it for a while, take a step back, but that's not the right way to go about doing it. I mean, I could have been sending items of value like, you know, 6 things you can do over the weekend to increase the price of your home, increase the value of your home. Here's what the market looks like now. Even just drop by and drop stuff off at their house, whatever it is. And I do find that between bomb and sending just videos via my iPhone, people love those. They're just like, hey, oh my gosh, what a great way to communicate. Thanks so much. Because the tone is different, the personality comes through. So I'm saying that to hold myself accountable for sticking with the new patterns of behavior that are generating results, so that I don't fall on my face. Whoop.
There's people in there like Melissa's like, same Joe, oh my God, it's my fault for not following up. So I don't think you're alone.
And we all do it. We all get into this mode of, you know, realtors are a pain in the ass or whatever, blah. But at the end of the day, create a connection with personalities, how they fit together, and stay in touch with them. You don't have to keep asking, when are you going to sell? When are you going to sell? When are you going to sell? For me, I have to remind myself, I'm looking to sell my home. What's of interest to me? What's going on in the market in my neighborhood? Perhaps if I've noticed them on Facebook or somewhere, they went to a restaurant or something that interests them, I can say, hey, you know what? Are you aware of this new place? Or whatever, I don't know.
Yeah, I think the comparables are very valuable. So keeping them up to date on those. So putting a little like nugget on your end of things and saying like, hey, I'm going to reach out to this person and let them know, hey, just so you know, this house in your area, I know you're thinking about selling, went for this much. Hope you're doing well. So those little, like, you're always kind of keeping an eye on things is your excuse to keep up with them, because you're not asking them, are you ready? Are you ready? I'm standing at your door. I got a cake. It's just those little touch points to keep you top of mind. Yeah. And were you friends with them on Facebook?
One yes, one no.
Okay. Because I think that's a cool way to keep, when you reach out to Facebook, then you're kind of always there. They're always seeing you. It's that top of mind thing as well.
One of the best pieces of advice that I got when I used to have the mindset of, I don't want to bother them, was they've reached out to us. As long as you're going to them with anything of value, it's not a bother, you're helping them. And that kind of helps me when I'm like, I don't want to reach out to them again. They've told me they want to wait. So, and I've never had anybody say, Nicole, you're giving me way too much information. Stop.
Right. And it is follow-up. I've asked Joe, you're like a bad cold. You're not going to go away. So it's either one of two things. Or if you call me again, I'm going to find you and I'm going to beat you to death. Those are the two answers. Just be a pest is basically what I'm getting at. Not the whole beat to death part, but you know what I'm talking about.
One of the things that I always say is once a person unsubscribes, it's very hard to get them back. So, you know, even Marcus and his, you know, lowest hanging fruit, rather than run an automation where I'm over spamming them, I put their name in my phone or in my calendar as a reminder. When their name pops up, you just look at what you had for them. And then we have Matrix here. So I'm very familiar with Matrix. I go in there and they've got a feature let you send once a month. If these guys tell you to, hey, just reach out to me, send it to me, I'll set up a once a month thing right out of the MLS to send to the clients, because you can set the time frame. Otherwise, if I just have their name, when I pull it up, I see what there is. I go in, I'll just do a real quick, hey, here's a market snapshot, let you know what's going on in the neighborhood, how's things going? And I try to ask something based on what's currently going on for a current event that lets them know that it is an automation, it is in real time. And then I don't have to worry about having an unsubscribe hit me that way as well.
Sorry, Leon. So you're saying that on Matrix, there's something where we can schedule, you know, a report that goes out every month to this person, like just that it does it itself?
Yeah, and most of your MLSs as well, so I'm familiar with Matrix. We have a thing in there where it'll let you send ASAP sends. You can do a concierge in there. And it also has a send schedule once a week, whatever day you want, or there's a once a month. On my sellers, I turn around and I will set it up where if they tell me, hey, just keep me informed of the neighborhood, I do a once a month send straight out of the MLS, because it's not going to get any more accurate than what's in there. And you can tailor it really specifically to them. But if you have somebody that you're worried about just overdoing it with all the automation, leave their name in your phone. I mean, your phone goes with you everywhere. You got a calendar. And I tell people this, best CRM is the one you'll use. So when I sit there, 7 o'clock every night, it pops up, check tomorrow's schedule. If I look and that person's name comes up, I go, oh, okay, I'll go pull it up and I'll send them something. And I just send it straight out of there and it's good to go. And that way you just get in touch. And if you can send it out of your regular email, then what's good is I can copy the link, send it to them, go, hey, here's a quick monthly update. Want to see how you and the family are doing. You know, be safe. I get the notice that they opened it. So now I'm tracking the open, but I'm not overdoing it. And that's the key thing, but I'm still getting in touch. We're all going to lose clients because someone's going to call them in between the 10 days you think you want to follow up with them. So that happens, but there's times where we all drop the ball. You can't hit somebody 60 days, 30 days, 10 days. It's got to be some kind of regularity.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, I've noticed a few other people use this, but I don't have stats to back it up, but I downloaded the Big app a while ago, and I am training myself to use it on a regular basis. You know, while I'm doing the CMA on my screen, I've got my app up. It says, hey, Bob, hey, Cindy, how you doing? Whatever, just to get their attention, because yes, they might see their house, but they're gonna see their name as well. So it's just a way to stick out, and it's not exactly Marcus, just like that.
You just connect, guys. You just want to personalize it as often as possible. Little things like that, you know, put in their address, put in their name. It's not automations that are the end game. It's the personal touch. And so the more.
What app are you using on your iPhone to do that, Marcus? What is that?
Make it big. It's free.
Make it big.
Free 99 is like we like to call it, right, Leon?
Is it Apple only?
It's Android too. It's called something else for Android.
Everybody grab their phones.
Everybody download it. Hey, you know what else is free? Facebook, Messenger. And the whole reason when you're talking about, the best CRM is the one that you use, guess what I use, right? And I do it purposely and I try to teach you guys. And I get it. You're not going to find everybody on Facebook, but you should always reinforce the connection back to yourself. And so, you know, if you look at Wendy, if you look at Jennifer, if you look at a lot of them continuing to show them their own personal Facebook, it reinforces that no like model, because you guys are often the times the barrier for you is they just don't know and like you yet. That's why they're not going to trust you. So the know and like doesn't just happen. You can give them all these great automations and personal follow-up, but no one sits in their inbox, but they are sitting on social media. So you just always got to consider how to get that relationship back to Facebook, especially if you're just genuinely looking to come from contribution. They're gonna take like to that. So that's my challenge to you is see how you can make that connection, see how your automations, your personal follow-up, the texting, the phone calls, everything pointing back to the fact that you'd like to connect on Facebook Messenger. And then you can start using it with voice, with PDFs, video, everything you can do. And then it's all in one place and you can see when they've seen it. You can see when they're home. There's nothing more powerful than Facebook Messenger when you get the relationship back there.
Marcus, can I ask a question? It might be a little bit of shifting gears. It's Anna. Does StreetText exclusively deal with seller leads as opposed to buyer leads?
No, we have great buyer opportunities. You just have to run the buyer ad, right? There's probably 10 different variations of buyer ads that we have and different classes for those.
Do you get as many leads? Do you see that you get as many leads for buy? And what does it say on the buyer ad?
It's just, there's so many different call to actions. Anybody have an example of one they're running right now?
And does it have to be all buyer, or can it be like, one seller and two buyer,
You can have a seller ad, a buyer ad, a listing ad, rent to own option. You can do our custom ads class where you're doing like new developments. You can run an ad for, puppies if you wanted to.
Can you possibly, I don't know if it's on this session or another session, just like maybe help me switch gears to, I want to see like, I kind of like prefer doing the buyer because you know that they're already looking as opposed to this. I've been getting leads, but a lot of times, again, it's just the address only, or it's just like,
Well, you're
really out of my.
Anna, you're in trial, and I know you've only been at it for a few days. So
yeah,
part of that is just starting to learn how people are, especially with the email only, starting the conversation. But there's a class coming up at 11, which is an hour and 20 minutes from now in our time. It's called the Ad Performance class with Stephen Whiting. And that's a great opportunity to touch on the buyer side of this.
Okay. And
so
that's, who was that with?
There you go. So it's right there, the link that Steve just shared. You can cover the buyer leads at this class today. He just gave you the little Calendly for that.
Is that on my thing here? Or?
Yeah, on the chat feature of your Zoom meeting.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for all that. Thank you.
Yeah, and then Roy shared a video too. And a lot of people, by the way, like Janky, who's done, had great success, runs the buyer ad, and most of her sellers are actually coming from her buyer ad because of the top of funnel nature of Facebook. Most buyers are actually sellers. You're not asking the question. So there's a lot of great opportunities to sell homes from marketing buyer ads.
I'm gonna go on this real quick. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, real quick before I forget, another free 99 tidbit for y'all. Someone had said earlier about you can't copy pictures off the MLS and stuff. What I have found is I use Bing.com, but either way it gets me where I'm going. When you pull something up in Bing and you get the picture and hit the Google view, you can move it around. I run a Windows-based computer. I take the snippet tool and I'll angle the picture at a different angle and I just snip it. And then I'll save it, but I save it with the address and the client's name. And I've got a StreetText folder on my desktop. So once I snip it and put the picture in there, when I send them out, whatever I'm sending them, whether I'm doing the CMA out of like Matrix for me or whatever I'm doing, I put the picture in there and I send it. And then this way, when they respond back to me, if I'm looking real quick for a memory jogger, like, oh, which one is this? I either use the address or the name to be able to pull it up and find them. But, once again, it's like, don't go spend money on editing software if you don't need it. You've got so much free stuff in your computers that, even if you use it off your phone, you can screenshot it out of your phone and then send it as an attachment picture with it. So that's just a quick way to get around worrying about using somebody else's picture without permission.
Smart. And don't forget with BombBomb or things like that, the screen recording app is one of the best things you can have, because the whole idea of this is creating and narrating the experience you want them to have. So if you have multiple tabs open, it could be their Facebook, it could be your own first Facebook, especially if you're looking to connect to your personal Facebook. You're just kind of showing them that connection. And then it could be, I see people use Zillow, Trulia, Realtor, show them all these internet's best guesses that are so inaccurate. And then you're in your MLS and you're showing them through there. So the whole idea is like, imagine this is the experience you want them to have. Imagine you're at their home and you're kind of taking them through their value and showing them a presentation. This is why you want to use screen recording tools, because it's so easy to jump from tab to tab to tab, especially if you're showing them something. And it's really for that consumer, for the homeowner, very insightful, especially if you include anything, reports and so forth. So I would really get into the idea of screen recording as you're creating the presentation. And you could also go back and forth between focusing on just you and then pressing a button and it goes into the screen. Or you can continue to stay as a little bubble. Or if you just don't like yourself, which I hope you don't, you can take yourself out completely and just be a voiceover as well. So there's a lot of great options with that. But my suggestion to you is, again, when you're using these type of tools, you need to become now a shift into, the science behind opens, the science behind clicks, the science behind video plays. Because if you look at like a Jennifer Salter, she tells me all the time, I'm about 90%. And the thing that makes her so good at getting opens is she's not settling unless they get the open and the watch. And so she'll continue to send the same email out, just change up the subject line, change the way she's sending it or how she's sending it, slight change in, hey, did you get it? You know, whatever she's got to do, it could be 3 or 4 different variations of the same email before she finally gets it opened. Because the key is, like, a lot of people, when their inboxes are flooded, they're just going to miss it. So you got to be willing to kind of put your work in on the follow-up to get that communication established. And so this is another thing to think about. And this is why when you're using, you know, I'm a big fan of using tools like this Chrome extension for my own email, because I can go filter things by plays. I can filter it by comments. I can filter all these different filters in my tracking. So a big part of your tracking is going to be making sure, you know, sending it from the personal level and then making sure it's being opened, being watched, being received.
Marcus?
Yeah.
Somebody, probably several months ago said, put in the subject line, the fact that it's a home value with video. And I think it's just intriguing enough to click on it.
Yeah, that's great. You know, personal video or home value video included, like in parentheses. Also adding in just one emoji can do a big difference. Not a lot of emojis, just one emoji. Their address, obviously, their name. You know, the Make It Big app, the combination of that kind of stuff is really what makes effective communication, because you're just getting them to see it. And then remember, what I love most about BombBomb 2 is the GIF. For that first 2 or 3 seconds when they open that email, that's just like the first impression you're providing. So if your smiley, your tonality, right? Not your tonality, your body language is happy, it's more inviting to click on and watch. Or if it's like a dark room and you're, you know, not smiling, they may not even open it. So that's a big part of it. So, you know, if you're too worried about that, start with the big app right in front and center, so they're clear on what it is. And you can say something like your Facebook home value, click here to play or something. You know, Bruce, yeah, like that, Craig, like Bruce, like if I get my inbox and I say Marcus, I'm like, me? Yeah, click, right? So it's just common, you know, stuff. We just overthink it sometimes, but I think it's just like, how do I personalize it? How do I connect? And I would never, ever, ever just rely on automations. They're only there when you can't be. And they're just a percentage of those that are being open. And then the percentage of those open, you don't really know if they're actually watching that video either until you actually start tracking your BombBomb analytics. So you only know if it's being open, but you have no idea other than that with that part of the email automations.
So do you think that has anybody did like a split test with the big right here with their name or address, or the house? Because like when I first started, you guys were always like, make sure their house shows, you know, because they're going to click, because they're going to want to know what you're saying about their house. So that's what I've always did, but I wouldn't mind switching it up if it works better. Does anybody know which works better, the house or their name?
Wendy, I'm using both. So as I screen share while I'm recording on the BombBomb, I'm using the big app, which says, hey, with their name. And then since I'm screen sharing, they can see a picture of their house. So they are making the relationship that this is to them and not anybody else.
Okay, yeah, our bubble's so small, so I didn't know if they could actually see it in there. So.
Yeah.
So this is what I do.
There you go.
And I start off, I'm like, hey, so that and I took that straight. That's what I learned from BombBomb. That's their best practice, is a whiteboard. And that way it's big enough that they can see me, or they might see this, but they see this and then they see this. And that's usually my GIF is like.
So you're the whole screen, right? You don't have are you doing the shared screen with their?
I start off at the whole screen, and then I switch. I say, hey, you know, you know, again, thank you so much, blah, 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 blah. All right, I'm going to go into a screen share, and then I pop into the screen share. and start doing all of that, because that way I still feel I'm getting that personal connection with them, and then they're still getting the information.
Gotcha.
Something like that too, right?
Yeah, that's cool.
Then you can shake it. Really flash it. So it's just, kind of just thinking like there's a lot of different ways to get someone's attention. You just need to get their attention enough to open, and then, everything else is just a matter of connection, right? Make them feel like, hey, this is for me.
Yeah, I think that's really the key there, Marcus. It's all about you're wanting to create that curiosity so that people reach out. So you create a connection. From that connection, you start to build a sense of relationship, and trust is established over time, and like is established over time as well. And I really like what you shared there, Joe, because it's so true. When you are when somebody comes to you and says, hey, I'm interested in buying or selling, down the road, it's sort of it's a broad idea. People have a sort of like, okay, it's probably going to be next summer, but anything could happen to make it more convenient to move sooner. Maybe their dream home comes up on the market. Maybe they get that, maybe they get the job offer they've been waiting for. Maybe, something could happen in between that time that kind of moves things along, accelerates it. And I remember Kim, she's based on the island near Marcus. And she talks about the fact that with her address only, she's converting a lot of them. But what she's doing is she's sending a mailer to them every month on the month. And every time she gets another address only, just kind of her list of that she's now mailing out to is growing. And I think that's really key. It's that when we do follow-up, sometimes we think, okay, well, I've sent my RPR report. That's it. Good. I've done my job. Well, that is good because you basically delivered on your promise. That's the contribution. But the key there is figure out a system that can expand as people join your pipeline, so that the number of messages that you're sending out every single month is only increasing. So the number of people who are getting to know you and that trust is now building over time, it's increasing month after month. And then you start to see that windfall pipeline, especially in the spring market, when people start to list in in droves. That's when your name is now the number one name that they know, and that the trust is there. This is Amani, she wants to join. Yeah. But yeah, it's about relationship. It's about building and establishing that relationship, and that starts with just being consistent with the marketing and the follow-up.
Yeah, and I like what Deborah said. Like, you guys, I think sometimes it's hard in the beginning. We overthink these. We want to analyze it. We want it to be perfect. But part of it is just going and just being authentically, just like going for it, just saying it. If you stumble on some words, if you say the wrong things, who cares? That's more relatable than you trying to be perfect and have, your tie and suit on, and like the kid comes in the room, the dog's on, people love all that stuff. Just have fun with it, because they're more likely to actually say, oh yeah, this is cool, this is a connection, than it being perfect and scripted. So like, yeah, in the beginning, it's good to have some sort of scripts kind of just to kind of go off of, but after a while, you know what you have to say, what you're saying. It's not something you have to review, just go and do it.
Well, relative, and still stay good with the relative content, but don't just be sometimes real estate only. I turn around, I send out the phases for COVID. Just say, hey, everybody, just kind of let you know where we're at with this, and it breaks it down for just the whole surrounding areas. And then on top of that, when you turn around and our MLS has the little monthly thing they put out for statistics and all that. So I don't just kill people with numbers, but I take the good snippets to let them know how crazy this market is, so that as a seller, they know what they're looking at for the multiple offers and whatever. And as a buyer, to let them know how difficult it is, because with a buyer, you want them ready to go. And these guys are dragging their feet and not getting pre-qual. That's a waste of your time too. So just, you can always find something good to send out. You just have to figure out what it is you want to do and not overdo it.
That's right. Like, Melissa, use your dogs in your video for all your BombBomb videos. Just, hold the dog in every video you do. I promise you'll get way more opens. You too, Rudy. Just, use your pet. People love dogs and cats, and those are just easy connection tools. Like, don't use your kids, but if your kids are with you, like John, bring them in the video. People are going to connect with that. That's more relatable than anything that you can do and talk about real estate with.
Yeah, and I think it, in terms of Joe, In terms of like branding, I think so many, like I personally follow a lot of real estate agents because of all of you are my friends on Facebook. And sometimes it's like nice to see content that isn't like, hey, list your house with me. Hey, you should list your house with me. Hey, it's a good time to sell. Hey, it's a good time to sell. Hey, list your house with me. I'd like to see content like, hey, I just went to this awesome restaurant. It was so cool. Hey, did you see this video? This is cool. Like, be you as well. Like, don't always be like selling. Like, even if you see a cool home video, don't put at the bottom of the home video, hey, if you're interested in selling, today would be a good time to sell. Just share the video just because it's good content. Like, don't always be pitching. Don't always be pitching. Like, I don't know if any of you follow Gary Vaynerchuk, and he talks about like jab, 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 hook. Like, you don't want to always be hooking. Like, here's my hook. Like, here's like, let's sell this. You want to be jab, 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 jab. Like, of all the mailers I've received at my house, the ones that I'm remembering, I'm up to like 13, are the ones that have been repetitive. I've had a couple that have come more than once. And it's just that like subtle repetitiveness. All of your videos on your Facebook page do not have to be about real estate. Like, people are just going to start scrolling right past them. So make your videos on your Facebook page about you, like who you are, like let people get to know you and the human being and your cats and dogs. And if they don't like cats, then they're not going to use you. They're going to use somebody who likes like that doesn't like cats. It doesn't matter. You guys should just be you on Facebook too. Don't always be pitching.
I posted one about a rude realtor last week that got a whole lot of activity. And it's funny because sometimes, and I'm going to start doing a day in the life of me instead of a day in the life of a realtor. But she was so rude and she pulled up, didn't want to be there. But what we forget, they call it, when you're doing live, there's a story you're telling. So build a picture in their mind with whatever you're doing. Build that picture. Let them see it like they were there. Give them that funny moment because everybody still needs something to laugh about. Just get it out there. And if you want it to be educational, you can, but most times that laugh is going to get you the replay.
It's good. Reinforces why you need them back on Facebook though, right? Because where are they going to see that part of you? And I try to help people understand, like, common sense is you're positioning an ad, sponsored ad in someone's personal newsfeed. You're paying for that part of Facebook to get in front of a person, and that person is looking for a relationship, and that, whether they know it or not, on the other side of that click is you trying to connect with them in a relationship. So if you're not intentional about finding a way to connect with them where they are already at, that's why you hear so many stories now in my conversion classes of people that are getting likes and comments on their ads and then messaging those likes and comments on their ads personally through Facebook to get the appointment, and they didn't even submit their information. You forget that that's social interaction from a personal Facebook user liking that. And if you were just to start messaging all your likes on your ads and the comments on your ad, like a personal message, you might find that these people are actually, people that are going to sell with you. So the key is just to find that way to connect with them. And I truly think, like, if they're already spending an hour or more, that's the studies show, on Facebook every single day, it would be advantageous to you to try to connect with every single person you could on that friendship level. You could always defriend them, you could always unfollow them. There's always the chance like that, but you should take that leap of faith to connect with them there. Because that's usually, with all your clients that you're currently working with, they're most of them are probably your Facebook friends now. So you're just taking a leap of faith to make that connection first and foremost.
Yeah, and I love what Leon said there as well, which is like create a story which shares a day in your life, because it does a few things. One, it shows you who you are, your values, you're human. It also shows you what you do. You're a real estate agent. This is your life. And if people are looking for a real estate agent, they're going to be looking for somebody that, is passionate about it, that loves it, that shares about it. And number 3, if you have a win that's you're celebrating on behalf of your client, share that on Facebook. If it was, if you were, if it was like the best experience, or you were super honored to work with someone, or they, you just saw that listing close, and even if it took a long time, share that story. Be like, wow, I'm so incredibly excited for this person that they got this listing closed. They really were incredible to work with. Because what you're doing is you're telling exactly your audience that you love real estate, you love why you love real estate, which is the people, the relationships, but also you're setting good expectations or with everybody who's listening on what life would look like working with you. I'm going to mute myself because my
real life right there.
That's awesome.
Joe, I cut you off before you were saying something. No, didn't hear me. Yeah, I think at the end of the day, it's like, how do you personalize this? People want to know a person, like I've gotten to know Wendy online. I know that she loves Jeeps. So when I saw the lab coat agent had posted something about like a kitchen of a Jeep on it, I'm like, Wendy would like this. Like that's part of Wendy's brand. Part of her brand is her love of the things that are outside of real estate. And that's what makes her a personality. So I think that's what you got to start sharing. Like, what are the things that you love? What are the things that are outside of that? And when you have a personal relationship on Facebook, that's key if you reach out and add them that way.
I have 50 buyers for that kitchen.
That's what I thought. It was a little bar in the basement made out of a Jeep. Like I thought, like, this is Wendy's. Like, is this her house?
Yeah, I started separating like personal and business, and it just works better if you do everything together because it is huge for people to see that you are a real person. I've looked at some agents' profiles recently because we're working on recruiting, and it's all just bam, article, listing, like, and it's all, you know, there's nothing about them. Like I have no idea what they are or who they are or what they do, what they love, you know? So when you kind of put it all together, then people can see that you're real and they want to work with a real person, not a robot. So
I think one thing you could do is a personal Facebook page audit. Go through your Facebook page, and this will give you a good idea of where your mindset is. I was talking to John about this in the office the other day, and he said, he was like, went to his Facebook page to look at all the recent posts you did in the last month. How many of those posts have like a positive feel to them? How many of those posts are spammy? How many of those posts like are like negative, like complaining about something? Or because like I had somebody say to me one time when they were a family member, but they had known me on Facebook and I hadn't seen them since I was a kid. And we went to dinner one night and she goes, "You're really funny. Like, I didn't think you were a funny person. Like, you're so serious on Facebook. Like, you're always like, I thought I was going to meet, like, I was scared to meet you because I thought you were so serious." And I realized, I went back and looked at my Facebook page and realized why she thought that, because everything I was posting was massively serious, was massively like, I realized I got to share those different parts of me. So go back and do a Facebook audit. Go through your Facebook page, look how you're appearing to people, because you might not realize, like the Ira from 10 years ago, when I saw the posts that I made, I was a very negative person. Like everything was complaining in my Facebook feed. And then I realized that as my mindset changed, my posts and things that I put up changed. So I dare you to do a Facebook audit today. See what your Facebook page looks like, or even present on there. Are you rarely posting and rarely seen?
Can I ask, how many people use Facebook business page as well?
One.
And do you use them both interchangeably, or do you use Facebook just personal and business just for business?
I do both. I run several pages because I do a niche. So I got a military one I do for the military. I've got one for the Puget Sound area because I drop a large net from where I'm at. What I do is there's some stuff that'll be a specific post to military, because anyone would look at the language and go, what the hell did they just say? And the other stuff around the sound, you know, I'm trying to make it more about the area where it centers on just the area and gets away from the military. So I limit what I put on my personal page because I don't want to be just all real estate.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of like being in the guidelines of Facebook of behaving. If you have a new house or something, or if I do a walkthrough of something I'm doing, I put that as well. But you definitely do want to mix it up, because you never know where they're going to find you. And,
Right.
and the nice thing is, if you have one video, how hard is it to post one video on 3 or 4 different pages? It's click and drop, paste a link.
And your ads run under your business page. So that's the brand that they see. So one of the make sure that it's your face, your profile photo that's on your business page, because that's a huge amount of branding. You're getting seen by thousands of people every single day. It's the same effect that you know, any other kind of really good branding has. So they see you, but then if they want to discover who you are, what you're about, they're going to click on your icon there, your brand logo, and then it's going to take you to the brand page or your Facebook business page. And so, yeah, you're going to want to have exactly what Leon says, have some things in there that are personal, fun, jokes, you know, share wins, the listings, because they're looking for you. And then ultimately they're going to look for the testimonials or referrals section. So even if you don't have one on there, have some that are your favorites that's easy to link to, even in the bio that people can find.
I also challenge people on this one because people are like, oh my gosh, do I like send a friend request out, or do we connect on like on my personal page? And a lot of people like get so focused on trying to get likes on their business page, and getting likes on your business page is good. It's fine. It's whatever. But I challenge people here. When you're going through your news feed, when was the last time that you actually saw a post from a business page? They're like usually the last thing you see, because Facebook's going to favor your friends and they're going to favor ads. And that's just the reality, right? But if you're able to connect as a friend on Facebook, and now you can post into your timeline, they're going to more often see that. And so that's where, and then they're going to see you personally. It's you. It's like, you know, do I want to work with this person? Is this person into, let's say, fishing? Oh, I'm into fishing too. Hey, we got something that we can connect on, right? So don't be afraid to send out a personal friend request. It's just you, and let them decide if they want to be friends. That's the, you know, the reality of it.
One thing I do suggest, though, if you haven't done it, once you build your Facebook page, invite everybody you know to it, because you're trying to get that initial traffic flow going through there. And then once you get the traffic flow going through there, you remember that it's other people off their feeds and their stuff that start seeing what they like or not. And then I just got to corner my daughter long enough to start having her do the friend invites from the business pages and stuff like that, for the Facebook ads, and do my personal stuff.
I've actually done a little contest too, and having friends invite their friends. I'll, you know, Starbucks card or something, invite your friends and get a free $10 Starbucks card or something. And that's been successful.
Another cool tip that I learned from Chris Harden, I don't know if you guys heard of him, Book Me Solid, he's amazing. Go into your Facebook page, your business page, and look to see if anybody has liked stuff or shared it or commented. And if they haven't, delete it off your page, because it's actually hurting your page. I was a huge believer in auto posting, because I don't have time to do that. So I had all these companies auto posting onto my business page, which I thought was cool, because then it shows that, you know, we have content on our page, but it's not, you know, it's not going anywhere. Nobody's looking at it. Nobody's doing anything. And then it's hurting your page. So if you go through and clean house that way, it'll actually help your post that you really want to get out better.
So do you not do any more automation, Wendy?
Nope. No.
Because I'm using Page Engage, and it's hit or miss. Like 30% of them are they're conversation starters, and the other 70 are like, eh.
Yeah, I had listing to leads. Every time we put a listing on, it would shoot it out, which was cool. It's like, oh, auto posting, I don't have to do it. That's amazing. And then keeping current matters, I love it. And if you love it, that's fine, but post it yourself. Don't allow the auto posting, because, you know, it's just, and it shows there too, auto posted from blah, blah, blah. So, you know, and then that, you know, sends it out to even less people. So, you know, try to make your business page as real as your, you know, personal page too.
Good point.
Less is actually better, because how many people are going to come to your business page and scroll down 80 items? So that's why I try to keep it to new listings and stuff like that, or something relevant, something that's eye-catching, because they want to get in. You got 30 seconds of their time if you're lucky, and if they like what you have, they might look at a couple more. So just a couple a week is more than sufficient. And like, I like to take Saturday mornings, because I don't want to get out of bed anyway. And I call that my social media hour. And I just sit there and I go through my phone, and I'll look through the social media stuff to see if there's something that I need to do different. And I mean, during the week, I'm still in LinkedIn and stuff like that. But when you go in there, like I've got 200 plus of my bestest LinkedIn friends. I'm adding people that are not even in my area because I'm working referrals that way. People see you and you're as big or little as you want to be on the internet. I go into the business page and see if there's something that I want to put in there, but you can just block it out for the time when you really have nothing going on. If you only dedicated 1 hour, you could probably do it in less, but you'll find your reach and your engagement gets much better.
All right. Well, we're past the hour, so we'll leave it at that, and we'll join you guys all next week.